So the other day when I pulled the bumpers off, I found this carnage um, along this front bulkhead. It's called front cross member. Um, and it appears that whole piece may have been replaced at some point with this vehicle. Let's take a well, the telltale sign was there were sheet metal screws along the bottom here. Now, I pulled them out. Most of them came out. Some of them twisted off. But that should be spot welds all along there from the factory. So, I mean, I think what's going on is actually welded on the inside of this pan. And I'm starting to see some pretty bad corrosion on the pan itself. Now, there's two different ways to replace these pans. Is one, you basically come in here and just do the recessed portion of the pan, and then there's a larger scenario where you actually drop the suspension, and it's like a whole bat wing, because that pan comes all the way out under the headlight. And I don't know, that's a lot of work. To do that proper, like you would have to go all along these seams and bust out all those spot welds along those seams. It'd be a lot of work. So hopefully I won't have to do that. In fact, I'm still contemplating whether I want to replace this whole front bulkhead. I mean, what's really kind of driving the boat is I got two fairly substantial cracks in the bulkhead. I got one over here by this bucket and another over here. That would be another telltale sign, because if they were pulling this off a donor car, there's this bulkhead up here, they would have to bust the spot welds. So that may have what caused those cracks. They got hasty and tried to yank this thing before all the spot welds were busted. Also, it looks like there's body filler right in here, so that crack may keep on going. And I think there's some more in here. I mean, there's body filler all up underneath here. So, I mean, the best case scenario is just to replace that whole bulkhead. Yeah. It's not super hard, and Restoration Design has the part, and it includes the little drip pan on the front here, so that's nice. But I think what I'm going to do next is there's another bulkhead that falls right in here, actually right here, I'm sorry. There's a support on the backside that runs about mid-level, but I'll double check. I'll let the car down. But I think I can go ahead and cut from that bulkhead, pretty much right there where that grommet hole is, all the way across, and drop that little section, that sliver, and get a better idea of what's going on inside of there. I mean, ultimately, at the very least, you'd want to replace that whole sliver. The problem is, it's a very complex bend right here. That would be super hard to fabricate. So I'm probably not going to do that. So, well, let me cut that one sliver out, and we'll see what's going on inside of there. Okay, this confirms what I thought. Basically, they sheet metaled the replacement bulkhead to the pan, sheet metal screwed it to the pan, and then they went along from the inside and put a bead. You can see how it's built up along there. Rather than try to grind that out by leaning down inside, which would be troublesome, I'll probably just take a grinder and go along and remove this strip of metal here with a grinder, and that should take me flush down to the edge on the pan. It'll be interesting to see what they did down underneath the buckets. I can try prying some more with my chisel to see if it was just sheet metal screws holding it on there. I think it's unlikely they pulled the bucket out of the pan, you know, and put it back in just to weld that lip, but we'll find out here in a little while. Okay, so when I got in there with my grinder, what I found out confirmed the suspicions that this bulkhead came off a donor car. You can see right here, there's the layer of the replacement panel. And then when I looked underneath, as I was grinding, I realized, well, there's 3 layers. So I think what happened was when they cut out the old panel, they left that lip on there, and they just cut like this. And I do it with floor pans myself, because what they were dealing with was the fact that the pan was pretty rusty already. So by leaving in that extra layer of metal, it just kind of reinforced it. Now I'm going to have to do some patching on this pan at the very least. Right there by the suspension point, it's it's basically run out of metal. I think, well, there's a perforation right here on the outer edge. I may have to run a strip of metal all the way down through here. Really don't want to have to cut that whole bat wing out. There's a perforation in front of this suspension point. I think underneath this bat wing it's okay, but yeah, there's some work that needs to be done. The pan itself appears to be in pretty good shape. That's the reason I'm kind of hesitant to say, okay, we're going to replace the whole, let's just call it bat wing, because that's basically the shape it makes. So, and I don't really want to drop the suspension either, as long as I can kind of keep it together as I'm doing this bulkhead without it losing, deforming or whatever. But I think if I take it slow and just don't start cutting out massive chunks, it should hold, because also this suspension point and the pan itself is tied into that bulkhead that runs up and down the car as well. So that should keep its shape. At least that's what I'm running with for now. So I'm going to keep this this video running. I'll keep adding onto it. I'm going to explore these where this front cross member joins to these pieces, like the inner fender. It joins here. I'm going to get in there and wire brush all that. I'm going to see what's underneath this body filler here. It's bound to be that crack continuing, and just do some more exploring. And because I think ultimately this has got to be replaced. I mean, it's just too compromised to not be, you know. So anyway, yeah, I'll keep adding to this, and we'll see where it goes. So I did some exploratory wire brushing, and I'm not seeing any spot welds. There's a panel that joins longitudinally, I guess, right here. You can actually see where some spot welds were drilled out. So that's that attachment for the bumper. Now how that works is inside of here, there's a bracket, and that's joined onto the inner fender. So that portion probably will peel right off, I hope. Then along here, there's another panel that runs horizontally all the way across. And we'll take a look from the inside. It doesn't have any spot welds from this side. None that are apparent. Same thing here, vertical panel, and then the bracket. Yeah, I just think this amount of rust that had like paint over the top of it, that was like that when they put this bulkhead on the car. And then same thing, there's your bracket there. So now another thing I'm thinking about is what's going to happen when all this comes off. Are the fenders basically going to try to sag out because you have the weight of the strut, the whole suspension, top part of the suspension from the strut is on that fender. Is that going to try to pull that fender out? I think it behooves me to put some kind of like almost like a strut bar inside of there, either from inner fender to inner fender or going to the top of the struts just to hold it in shape. So they don't really make front strut bars for 914s because they have so much strength in those areas, is what I'm gathering looking online. So anyway, that's something I got to think about, and I'm not going to cut all this out. Probably the next thing I'm going to cut out is up here and below that horizontal member that goes across here. Again, I'll show it to you in a little while. Probably just a sliver all along here. And then I'm going to leave this top portion to help hold the fenders plumb. Because right now, having the car as a roller is important to me here in the garage because, yeah, I just slap the wheels back on it and I can roll it into a different spot and put something else on the lift. All right, so now you can see this horizontal piece. I'll get a proper term for it next time I go to the pet. And so it acts as additional support for the front cross member. And it does look like it was cut out at some point and replaced because you can see where spot welds have been drilled out. Along here, I'll have to kind of explore that to see what they did. Although, those look factory. So maybe somebody started to take it out and said the hell with it. Or they spliced it in. Unknown. And on this side, more of the same. Looks like somebody started to drill out spot welds. So not sure what that's all about. Now on the front side here, it's got seam sealer. I'm going to have to go along and wire brush that out. There's no more body filler in here too. So, yeah. And I was also looking at these headlight buckets. Those do not look like factory welds. Little seam welds. That probably would have been spot welds at the factory, most likely. So the buckets may have come out at some point. I don't know that I'm going to take them out, but you can also see up here, it was kind of crudely put together there. Let's look at the other side. Better job over here. But a whole different set of welds, much longer. So yeah, I would say at some point the headlight buckets came out. So there may be strong indication this car had some kind of severe front end damage. I mean, for that matter, the fenders could have been replaced and everything. But main thing is I just got to make it structural. And right now, this front cross member, it's a little dodgy. So this confirms what I suspected again. That's one long weld along that horizontal support. So basically there's no way to grind all that out. It'd take forever. And plus you'd mutilate a lot of that lip, which I need to salvage the lip on the horizontal support. So basically it just means cutting right up to it and then grinding off the welds. Down below, I was pleased that the lip of the pan is in fairly good shape. There's some minor corrosion, except out here on the wing areas. Now, that's that suspension point, and it's looking a little rough. I was looking at that. It's actually a triangular support that goes over the top of the pan. I need to kind of look at that in my other 914. I don't remember that being that way, but same over here. The attachment point for the suspension is rough. I'll look on the restoration design site to see if they sell those triangular pieces. So what that means is that's 2 layers of metal, because you have the pan itself and then this triangular piece up above it, which makes a lot of structural sense, because I mean that's your attachment point on your torsion bar. So it would be nice to refurbish that while I'm in here, because it does look pretty rough right now. So that's about it. I think the only thing else I want to accomplish, I want to cut this sliver of metal out underneath this horizontal support, and that'll give me a clearer view of what's going on. So I went ahead and cut that whole top section out, because I got to looking, why am I worried about separation on the strut towers when you got this bulkhead that goes all the way across here? And with this horizontal support, I mean, it's not going to splay. The fenders with the weight of the struts and, brake hardware and all that crap, it's just, you got plenty of support. So yeah, this was pretty easy. Basically, I was careful about not cutting into the bucket, and then you could just get from the inside and go right along that weld. Now, on an original car, that would be a seam with spot welds all along the back side, I'm pretty sure. And you'd also, I think, would see evidence of those on the front side. We usually do. So now it's just a matter of coming from underneath and trimming that little bit of extra, and then that'll be my mating surface once I clean it up. All this along here will remain intact. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that bottom off as close as I can to that horizontal support. And then I need to think about those headlight buckets. Right. So, yeah, after I clean that up a little bit more, tighten it up, that'll be my mating surface for the new cross member. Now, headlight buckets. My current thought on those is, if I put high intensity LED bulbs in the GT Racing fiberglass front bumper, I don't know that I need flip up headlights. Now that would mean I would have to change the hood out to a headlight delete hood, which GT Racing has those. They're a little pricey because I think you get the metal frame plus the fiberglass, right? So I think that's like $750, but that would sure be a nice look. And I would never have to mess with the pop-up headlights again. Also, one of the pop-up headlights cover is severely corroded, and I don't know that I'm ever going to get that straightened out. So that's just an option. And it would make putting this bulkhead on probably a lot easier. I don't know that you lose a lot of strength. It does, I think it would have a tendency to stiffen up that corner of the chassis. But again, with this cross member here, this horizontal member, do you really need it? Plus all that stuff is really rusty. So that's what I'm thinking right now. I need to run the numbers, see if I can digest that. Because the metal bulkhead on here, that's going to be $300 plus shipping. And then that hood, so that puts me in like $1,000 to fix this front end. But it would save a lot of trouble moving forward as far as headlights, because LED headlights now are a dime a dozen. So anyway, I'm thinking through that. I'm going to wrap this video up at this point and publish it. This will be part one of this whole extravaganza. And just a note, I do have ordered the jack plate for this longitudinal, the sill that goes beside the door and the opening there, and those supports, triangular supports. Also ordered the cross member that goes up in the on the floor pan. So all that's on order. I will keep moving forward in those areas. I'd like to finish up this longitudinal so I can put that piece back on that was cut out. And that's going to be a whole thing in itself. But so yeah, still a lot of chassis work left. Stick with me. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.